We want to talk a little bit about this today with a couple of friends. Kevin Jackson, author of Sexy Brilliance and Other Political Lies. Matt Kibbe, president of Freedom Works and author of Hostile Takeover. Stu Burguiere, executive producer of the radio program. Let's just, first of all, get everybody's thoughts. The only thing I can get out of this that's good is that this is going to unite us even more than we were united before. Yes or no?
Absolutely.
Yes,
Absolutely.
it strips away the pretense that anybody in Washington, D.C. is on our side. And we know now we got to do it ourselves. We can't wait for a Supreme Court justice or a president to fix our problem for us.
Anybody seen on TV today the people who are like, oh, no, you know what, Justice Roberts, you know, I think he had a plan. And what he's doing is he's going to go after the Commerce Clause. You hear that?
Yeah, I don't even understand it. I mean, you're going after the Commerce Clause. It's like saying you're going to lose the Super Bowl intentionally to make a point to the ref so that you might win next year's Super Bowl. It's just insane. I mean, you have this sort of idea that, you know, he wanted to go after the Commerce Clause. Well, he could have gone after the Commerce Clause and struck down Obamacare. He could have had both of those things with one vote. And he decided instead, I don't know whether it was to make the Supreme Court seem more likable or...
seem more likable. Did anybody see this coming with him?
No, I was shocked. But I will say this. I heard that one of his friends said that he was interested in his legacy, and his legacy is a Supreme Court, on the Supreme Court. And I was thinking, who does that? That means that he's willing to sacrifice the people because he's more interested in what the court is going to think about him. That is outrageous.
Well, I personally think this is a Dred Scott decision. I think this is going to go down, depending on who wins in the end. If we restore ourselves to our founding principles, this will go down as the moment and the decision of absolute shame, the low point of the American constitutional movement and the low point of the American Constitution, with an exception of possibly slavery and the internment camps. But this is it. If we win, it will be remembered that. If we lose, the country fundamentally changes forever. Well,
I just don't see us losing because we've had so many breadcrumbs that have led up to this moment. And I think the biggest shock was, I liken it to, you go to lift the box and you think it's light and it's heavy. And all of a sudden we've got this decision done by Roberts, which is the big shocker because we all felt like he was going to be the guy that would tip it the other direction. But Matt and I were talking earlier, and I think that ultimately we will win. I think that the fact that it is now, it has to be called a tax. That's something that Obama's going to have to play with for the rest of the election cycle.
Let me read you something from Roberts' decision that tells us exactly what we have to do. He says those decisions are entrusted to our nation's elected leaders who can be thrown out of office if the people disagree with them. It's not our job to protect the people from the consequences of their political choices. Well, of course, it is their job to protect the Constitution. But what Roberts is saying, and your T-shirt is painfully right, that was a decision of cowardice. He was unwilling to do his job, and he's saying to us, the people, you guys fix it. It's your problem now.
Tiffany, put the T-shirt back up on the big screen. I want to show you this T-shirt again, because there's two choices. There really are two choices now. The choice is, are you going to be a coward? Are you going to just go along with it? Are you going to be quiet? Are you not going to argue? Or the other choice is this: I will not comply. I won't comply. And I will do everything illegally. I will do everything that I can to connect with other people. But this is it. This election really is it. Can you imagine what happens to the Constitution, to the Congress, to jobs, to anybody in this country with this decision and a re-election of Barack Obama?
Oh, it would be a complete disaster. I know our communiques at the TeaParty.net, and I'm the national spokesperson for them, the first thing that we said was we're going to batten down the hatches. I mean, we were energized to begin with. I mean, I think everybody will admit this movement has just, people think we've gone away because the rallies have gone away. Boy, you talk about just the email threads, the Twitter threads, all the things that happened the minute that announcement went out. It was like everybody just, I mean, we put on more muscle. And so I think so. I can't even imagine.
All of our social networks exploded.
Ours did too.
It's 10-10.
This is, hang on just a second. Let me just say this. This is with an exception of my last day on Fox, which couldn't tell anybody where we were going or what we were doing. So that was the biggest day of any of our websites or anything else. This is that day for us, and we didn't have to promote anything or anything else. As soon as this decision happened, people rushed in, and I mean, we practically melted the servers down on people registering. That's good news.
It is.
Your optimism is very disturbing to me. Being that I know you for such a long time, horrible things happen when you're optimistic.
Haven't I been warning people?
Yes.
I'm really optimistic, and look what happens today.
This is a terrible turn of events. But it's one of those things that, like, I mean, there is positive to take out of this now that it's over. You can say, yes, we're fired up, and I think that's great. But the bottom line is, we could have taken the election and killed Obamacare and saved Mitt Romney the trouble of trying to go through and do it himself once he gets in office. Even with the most optimistic reading of what we expect out of Mitt Romney, he's not Mike Lee. And, for him to get rid of a giant entitlement program is going to be difficult. Remember, in his speech today, the second point of action that he had was to say we got to make sure that the pre-existing condition thing still stands.
Yeah, no,
his second point about Obamacare being overturned was
the sign on his podium said repeal and replace. No, thank you. No, thank you. Replace with what?
I mean, his replacement, one of the things he said was his replacement was a large chunk of Obamacare. So the idea that this guy's going to come in and be our big savior, and you're right, it's got to be through the people, because this guy's not going to do it on his own.
So let me talk to you guys, because you guys are the two, activists. How do you rally around? Because, I mean, Matt, before we went on the air, we were talking, and I said, Romney's not our friend. He's not our enemy, but he's not our friend. But when he gets into office, is he going to be repeal and replace?
I don't know what Matt thinks, but I can tell you this. My attitude about Romney is he's directable. Now, McCain, or who was it he was running against? Newt Gingrich made a comment that Romney's a good manager. He managed Massachusetts. Well, he managed people who were pretty much socialist. And he managed to socialist principles. So my attitude is, if he's going to be managed, who's going to manage him? Do you believe that the American people are now prepared to manage politicians? I say yes.
Oh, yeah.
So I think...
Especially after today.
Especially after today.
Oh, yeah.
So,
because you know what? You know what happened today? We were betrayed by one of our own. That shows you, we all thought, John Roberts. We were looking at Kennedy. Can you get Kennedy? When we had Kennedy, we lost Roberts. Like, what?
Well, one other quick point. When we got our communiques at the teaparty.net, we were all talking about Justice Roberts' court, because we were anticipating a win, and we were going to give the man credit for this being the Roberts, Supreme Court. And I got the announcement, I was thinking, Justice Roberts, the scapegoat, the scallywag of this. All of a sudden, I didn't even want to mention the guy.
I didn't think scallywag. I thought of other things that I was on the air and I couldn't say.
Dick Armey has a slogan. He says we have to own their fear. Politicians, all the insiders in Washington, D.C. are only going to respond if they're afraid that we're going to show up. So if we don't show up, if we don't drive the House and the Senate so that we have our guys in control of the Senate, we're not going to control Mitt Romney.
Do you know who the luckiest man in America is today?
I'm going to think Mitt Romney, but I don't know who you're going to say, Glenn.
I think Orrin Hatch.
Oh, well.
I think if the election were held next week or the week after, he'd be done. Oh, yeah. He'd be done.
Today's decision was the greatest commercial forever for FreedomWorks, because you need organizations like that are going to go out and you don't have someone like George W. Bush to put in somebody who fails us in the clutch. You need to have guys like Mike Lee, like these guys that are hardcore believers that when it comes down to a tough decision, when their reputation and their legacy is on the line, they stick with their principles.
We have, there are two things that I talked about on the air today that I didn't plan on talking about, but I don't really care. One, we were told by Department of Homeland Security, which they've been great, that they would shut down some of our events for Restoring Love unless we did certain things because they were afraid they couldn't manage. Now, the Department of Homeland Security can't handle our nice crowd. So that's pushed our costs way over the roof. And it's quite honestly, it's a little unnerving. The information they didn't ask for, they just had. The second thing that I talked about today is I've been saying to you that there was something major that might happen, and it's not going to, because he can't do it. I've told you for 2 or 3 years now. I don't know what, but Billy Graham plays a role. I found out 3 weeks ago from a friend of Billy Graham's and a friend of mine that Billy has felt that he had one last message that he needed to deliver at a stadium to the American people in the world. When I heard that, because I didn't know why I had got the stadium, and I'm just, quite honestly, I'm bluffing every step of the way. And I heard that, I thought, I'm not even supposed to show up. I'm supposed to hand him the keys to the stadium, Billy Graham's last message to the world that he feels God is telling him to say. And Billy was amazing, and he considered it, and he's just not able to do it. And I don't know what is coming. I just know that I just know we're supposed to be here, and I know we're supposed to gather, and I know that Matt Kibbe and FreedomWorks, I've watched these guys. I know that they are honest, and they are small government. They are not progressive weasels. And I know what they're building at Free Pack, which is on the Thursday night. I know that I know the pastors and the priests and the rabbis that are meeting on Friday night, and they are going to kick ass of all of those weasel pastors and priests and rabbis that aren't saying anything. Oh, yeah. And then the service project, unlike anything ever been done before. They don't even know how to do it. Not been done this scale before. And then what happens at Dallas Cowboys Stadium on Saturday. If you have tickets and you're not going to use them, there is a waiting list for tickets. Please go to mercury1.org and turn your tickets in or sell them on Ticketmaster so somebody else can buy them, because there's a waiting list. If you want premium seats, there's a few left that are $150 a piece. That goes to defray all the costs, plus all the costs that we now have coming from the Department of Homeland Security and everything else. And believe me, they did this to me last time. Last time they did it to me a week before. Drove our cost up by almost, I think, like $500,000. Didn't think we could pay for that either, but we did. I know that I know the game. If you can buy a T-shirt for Restoring Love, if you can buy a coin, if you can do anything to help defray the cost, that'd be great. But I want you there at Free Pack, because Free Pack is going to change the dynamics of the game. We are no longer just sitting here as Tea Party members, making signs with our kids. That's not it. That's not it. That is what was. What is will change the course of America. And hear me loud and clear, progressives, in the Republican and the Democratic Party. You're done. Your time is up. Come on, America. Join us. Go to mercury1.org or freepack.com. Okay.
Do you want to change America? Activate.
We are in the fight of our lives. We are witnessing firsthand the fundamental transformation of America.
33 million Americans think they're registered to vote, but they're not. Go to glennbeck.com today to register yourself and your friends to vote. Elections have been won and lost by one vote. Don't become a statistic this fall. Make your voice heard.